Hello, it's Friday, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Chloe Tilley. Welcome to the programme. An expert panel has recommended to the government that some medicines derived from cannabis should be available on prescription, but some parents are still battling the system to get such medicine. This programme has spoken to one mother whose MP has intervened to ask the Home Office to get a licence for cannabis medicine for her son's seizures.
Here we are today, and we just want help. We want help and we need it now. And we feel that, the medical cannabis is the way to go for us. We've seen the benefits and we'd like some help now, please.
We'll be exploring what the next steps would be to allow cannabis-derived medicines to be available on prescription. Reports of stalking offences have trebled in England and Wales over 4 years, but convictions are down. We'll be hearing from people who've lived with being stalked.
It was just all-consuming, and it was designed to destroy me. You feel absolutely weak, torn, and it mentally destroys you.
It's completely relentless. It wears you down, it makes you upset. I mean, I've contemplated suicide in the past because of this guy.
Well, we'll be asking what the police can do to increase the number of convictions. Also today, what does the average household in the UK have 4 of?
I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. Come a chameleon.
Well, believe it or not, the answer is the average household has 4 now. That's what I call music albums. Well, the 100th album of the chart hits is being released, and we're going to be reminiscing about the top tracks and asking what is so enduring about a compilation mix in an age when we can download any song, anytime, anywhere. Hello and welcome to the programme. We're live until 11 o'clock this morning. Now, do you think the government should go ahead and allow cannabis medicines to be prescribed? Or have you experienced stalking? We're also going to be talking about IVF later on in the programme. 40 years after the birth of the first test tube baby, is it right for parents who already have a child not to get fertility treatment on the NHS? Do get in touch with us on all of the stories that we're talking about this morning. You can use the hashtag #VictoriaLive. Now, if you're emailing and you're happy for us to contact you, maybe you want to take part in the programme, please include your phone number in your message. And if you do text, you're going to be charged at the standard network rate. Our top story today. Donald Trump has invited Russia's leader Vladimir Putin to visit the United States in the autumn. The American president's press secretary has tweeted that discussions for the trip are already underway, just days after their Helsinki summit sparked controversy. Well, the bombshell announcement also came as a bit of a surprise to his security chief, as Chris Buckler reports.
America's intelligence agencies have never wavered in their belief that the Kremlin interfered in the 2016 presidential election, and that through cyber attacks and campaigns of disinformation, Russia remains a threat to democracy in the US. But Donald Trump's own view has been a little harder to pin down. He said he misspoke when he appeared to back Vladimir Putin's denials over the word of his own intelligence chiefs. But it is clear that he still wants a relationship with Russia.
Getting along with President Putin, getting along with Russia is a positive, not a negative. Right. Now, with that being said, if that doesn't work out, I'll be the worst enemy he's ever had.
But his recent actions have unnerved Donald Trump's political friends and foes in Washington.
The resolution is agreed to.
The Senate unanimously passed a motion opposing President Putin's proposal for Russia to question US officials, after Mr. Trump seemed to briefly consider it. Yet despite all the fallout from that controversial summit in Helsinki, the White House press secretary revealed on Twitter that President Trump has already asked his national security advisor to invite President Putin to Washington, and those discussions are ongoing. However, that came as something of a surprise to America's own Director of National Intelligence.
Well, we have some breaking news. The White House has announced on Twitter that Vladimir Putin is coming to the White House in the fall.
Say that again?
You, Vladimir Putin coming
Did I
to
hear
the...
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be special.
Questions remain about what Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin talked about in Helsinki, particularly during their closed-door private meeting. And Democrats say until they get clarity on that, there should be no further one-on-one sessions between the presidents in Washington or anywhere else. Chris Buckler, BBC News, Washington.
Well, let's head over to the BBC newsroom, and Anita McVeigh is there with a summary of the rest of the day's news. Morning, Anita.
Morning, Chloe. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. The Prime Minister will today set out her commitment to ensuring there'll be no hard border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK after Brexit. Theresa May will use her speech in Belfast to reject the EU's so-called backstop proposal, which could see the introduction of a hard border, a move she claims would be in breach of the Good Friday Agreement. At least 11 people, including children, drowned when an amphibious vehicle capsized and sunk on a popular tourist lake in the U.S. state of Missouri. It happened when stormy weather set in over Table Rock Lake. Around 31 people were on board the vehicle at the time of the accident. Officials say at least 5 of those passengers are still missing. Rescue boats have been out in the water searching for survivors.
This is a really tough situation, and it's gut-wrenching, and we may know the people involved here, so it's a very sensitive situation, but we're doing our best as a city to try to do whatever it is we can to help in this situation.
MPs have criticised the Director of Public Prosecutions over failings in the disclosure of evidence in rape and other serious sexual assault cases. A number of rape trials collapsed last year after it emerged vital evidence hadn't been given to defence lawyers. Our legal affairs correspondent Clive Coleman reports.
In every criminal trial, the prosecution must disclose any evidence gathered which either helps the defence case or weakens its own. If that fails, innocent people can go to jail, and for years there have been problems. Last December, the rape case against Liam Allen collapsed when text messages were disclosed which proved his alleged victim had pestered him for casual sex. It was the first in a series of collapsed trials. That led to reviews by the police and Crown Prosecution Service and a National Disclosure Improvement Plan. And now, a damning report from the Justice Committee. It criticises the Director of Public Prosecutions, Alison Saunders, for failing to recognise the extent and seriousness of long-term disclosure failings.
There's no doubt, in some cases, miscarriages of justice have occurred. People have gone to prison when they shouldn't have done. We were very alarmed at the evidence we had from the outgoing DPP that suggested to us that the extent of the problem was not being fully picked up.
CPS data may have underestimated the number of cases stopped with disclosure errors by around 90%. The report welcomes a national improvement plan announced in January, but says disclosure must be seen as a core justice duty and not an administrative add-on. Alison Saunders says there's an unprecedented focus on finding solutions, and the CPS will carefully consider the report. Clive Coleman, BBC News.
A panel of experts has warned that the progress made in the international fight against HIV and AIDS is in danger of stalling due to what they call dangerous complacency. A report published in The Lancet says the epidemic could re-emerge as a new generation enters adulthood. Gatwick Airport says its main runway has now reopened after it was closed to allow an emergency landing just after midnight. No one was injured in the emergency landing, and passengers were able to disembark the aircraft a short time later. The airport says its schedule is now running as normal. The number of recorded offences for stalking has trebled in England and Wales in the past 4 years. That's according to new figures from the Home Office. Last year, there were more than 10,000 recorded offences, the highest figure since a new law on stalking was introduced in 2012. Police say the rise shows they're doing a better job at reporting the crime. But as Ali Fortescue reports, the rate of prosecutions has fallen to a 4-year low.
Well done! You may not be able to see Anna's scars, but being stalked has left a mark.
Oh, well done.
The mum of 4 from York left her ex-partner 5 years ago, but soon after the cycle of abuse began.
It wasn't just, you know, texts and things like that. There was so many other aspects he was coming in on. You feel absolutely weak, torn, and it mentally destroys you, that you think, I can't do this today.
And Anna, of course, isn't alone. The number of recorded stalking offences has trebled in England and Wales in 4 years, from nearly 3,000 recorded offences to more than 10,000. That's the highest figure since a new stalking law was introduced in 2012. Last summer, the police watchdog found that forces up and down the country weren't doing enough to tackle stalking. But police say that the figures today show that they've upped their game and that they're recording more crimes.
I think there's still under-reporting in relation to these crime types. That's why we're absolutely committed to making sure that the police service response in relation to what are difficult crimes to investigate is as good as it can be, working with other agencies.
But whilst the recorded crimes are going up, prosecution rates have fallen. The CPS say this is amongst the most challenging offences that they deal with.
Hearing for 20 years, you know, when murders are reviewed, the police will say we will learn these lessons and we'll make the right changes, but I'm not seeing that with the leadership.
It's a crime that's been called murder in slow motion. Charities want the police to take stalking more seriously, but for now Anna's life and so many others like hers remain on pause. Ali Fortescue, BBC News.
And we'll have more on this story, speaking to people who've been affected by stalking later in the programme after 9:30. A celebrity plastic surgeon in Brazil has been arrested after 4 days on the run following the death of one of his patients who died after undergoing a bottom enlargement procedure. Police say Dr. Dennis Furtado, who's known online as Dr. Boom Boom, was captured in Rio thanks to an anonymous tip. The youngest Spitfire pilot to fly in the Battle of Britain during World War II has died. Squadron leader Geoffrey Wellham, who was just 18 when he joined the RAF in August 1939, died at his home in Cornwall on Wednesday evening, aged 96. He served with 92 Squadron, and his first missions included the dogfights above London and the home counties, for which the battle became known. Dozens of parents queued up outside a Cardiff school from the early hours of the morning in a bid to secure their children a place at its breakfast club. The school has 100 places which are allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. A spokesperson for Cardiff City Council says that due to staffing and space, they can't provide a space for everybody. Now, the biggest butterfly count in the world starts today in the UK, with the hot, dry conditions promising a bumper year for numbers. Sir David Attenborough has described participating in the survey as a precious breathing space from the stresses of modern life. As part of the big butterfly count, Butterfly Conservation is asking the public to spot and record 17 species of butterfly for the next 3 weeks. And that's a summary of the latest BBC News. More at 9:30. Chloe.
Thank you very much, Anita. Do get in touch with us throughout the morning on all of the stories that we're talking about. You can use the hashtag #VictoriaLive. If you do text, you will be charged at the standard network rate. Right, let's get some sport now. Chris Mitchell is with us from the BBC Sports Centre. Good morning, Chris. OK, let's talk about the Open first. Let's talk about golf. Changing conditions today, is that going to play a role?
Oh, yes, it is. It was glorious yesterday, wasn't it? And for the golfers that went out early, it was still 2, so no wind for them, and they had it easier. When Tiger Woods went out in the afternoon, it was starting to blow, and he had it very tough. Now, this morning, it's a completely different scene. It's been raining quite hard. No wind to speak of, but rain will actually help the golfers in a way because it'll soften those tarmac-like fairways, and the greens will become more receptive to the ball as well. So the guys going out this morning might have it a little easier. It is forecast to clear up later on at Carnoustie as well. Let's take a quick look at the leaderboard because it's a cast list of jobbing pros, understudies and never quite made it types at the moment. A bit harsh, I know, but the really big names are lurking there. Kevin Kisner, 33 in the world, is top of the leaderboard. Eric van Rooyen of South Africa, who only just qualified for this, is a shot behind. And you can see Danny Willett, the Masters champion there, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, all lurking in the background. And Rory actually is right out on the course now, and he's doing the same thing he did yesterday. blasting it into the long grass and then blasting it out again and just keeping his game together. He was a bit all over the place yesterday, but he is still very much in the hunt. Tiger Woods, well, he had the hard part of the day, as I suggested, but he did really very well indeed. He putted well, and when he got himself into trouble, look at that, in the bunkers at Carnoustie, he got out really well. He's level par overall, he's 5 shots off the lead, but look, he's focused, he's concentrating, he goes out at 10-20, and people are saying he's got a real, live chance of doing well here.
There's a lot of excitement about Tiger Woods, isn't there? Let's talk about the Tour de France. Chris Froome, still in with a chance? I mean, he's being outshone by one of his teammates, isn't he?
He is, yes, the master being outdone by the apprentice, if you like. Geraint Thomas has cemented his tag as a serious contender for the Tour. Back-to-back stage wins now. And it was really tough. Up the mountains, up 3 mountains yesterday. It was made tougher by the abuse. We'll have a look at that in a minute, the abuse those 2 riders are getting. It's full on. To their credit, though, the 2 Team Sky riders just ride on. And the Welshman put in a late surge to beat his rivals. He's in white there, Froome. Geraint Thomas at the head of affairs, crossing the line. Froome is still favoured overall, but only just. And Thomas now has a lead of almost 1:40 seconds over Froome. But look at what happened. Look at the abuse. This is Froome. In a minute, he's going to get pushed. The guy just runs out and pushes it. And this is going on all the way up the mountain. Flares being lit, booing, spitting, some people dropping their trousers even as the 2 Team Sky riders go by. And it's really difficult. Look how close these crowds are getting. This is a famous part of the course. Once you get into the Alps, thousands of people camp up there and wait for the riders to pass. Now, Froome and Geraint Thomas have said they don't mind the booing, but when people come out and actually push them, that's another thing altogether. And they say that's got to stop.
But haven't they got people there, Chris, to protect the riders?
Well, no, if you think that stage 12 was, what, 150 kilometres long. So there just aren't the people to police all of it. And it's open country. Up in the Alps, it's open country. So, as I say, thousands of cycling fans go up there. They camp up there. They have a holiday up there. And they wait for the guys to cycle past. They clap, cheer, or do other unsavoury things. And then they drive on to the next stage, a bit like the cyclists. So, no, it's difficult to police.
Now let's talk about Liverpool's new expensive goalkeeper. So many Liverpool fans, quite frankly, just relieved that there's going to be someone sensible between the sticks after recent performances. He's been talking for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit tough, isn't it, on Loris Karius, but he did have that calamitous Champions League. Liverpool looking for a goalkeeper. They've got one ever since. Alisson, well, he's been saying it's a dream come true to move to Liverpool. The